Today, we're going to demystify a really crucial piece of SAP Ariba sourcing, access controls. We'll break down exactly how you can lock down your sensitive project data and make sure the right people are seeing the right information at exactly the right time.
So here's our game plan. We'll kick things off with the basics. What even are access controls? Then we'll get you comfortable in the workspace, move on to actually building out a project, and then dive into running sourcing events. And to wrap it all up, we'll look at some really powerful advanced tactics. But before we get into all the nuts and bolts, let's just start with a question that probably keeps a lot of project managers up at night. Who's got eyes on your supplier lists? Your pricing strategy? Your team's internal comments? Look, managing this, it isn't just some nice-to-have feature. It's the absolute foundation of a secure and successful project. So, how do you answer that critical question? Well, the answer lies in mastering access controls. Let's start by defining what they are. You can think of them as your project's own digital security guard. So what are they, really? In SAP Ariba, access controls are, at their simplest, a way to restrict who can see what. But their real power is in just how precise they are. You can lock down an entire project workspace, or just a single folder that holds sensitive supplier bids, or you can even go as granular as one specific document. It's all about preventing unauthorized eyes at every single level. Okay, so now that we know what access controls are, let's take a look at where you're actually going to be using them. We've got to get you familiar with your command center, the workspace. You're going to be spending most of your time in just a few key areas. All your tools are tucked away in the tabs and action menus. Search is obviously your best friend for finding things quickly. Dashboards, they give you that high-level 30,000-foot view of how everything's going. And of course, there's always help and documentation. Just getting comfortable here is the very first step to truly controlling your projects. All right, we've got our bearings. Now it's time to build. You see, a sourcing project in Ariba isn't just a simple folder. It's a whole structured container that holds all of your tasks, your documents, your team members, and events, from idea to execution. You know, every successful project follows a pretty clear path. First, you lay it all out. Define the project, its goals. Then, you figure out the benefits. What's the real value here? Next up, and this part's crucial, you create the project workspace, and you assemble your team. From there, it's all about execution. You carry out your tasks, run your events, and finally, you award the business. It's a logical flow that just keeps everyone on the same page. So why even bother with all this formal structure? You might be thinking it sounds like a lot of bureaucracy, but it's really all about control. This process gives you a single source of truth for every document, it makes team roles crystal clear, it helps you track every task and milestone, and it creates a complete auditable history of the entire process. No more guesswork. And this brings us right back to our main theme, see? Security isn't an afterthought. The very moment you start adding people to your project team, that's when you apply access controls. You decide from the get-go who's a viewer, who's an editor, and who has full admin rights. Security is built in, not bolted on later. With our secure project workspace all set up, it's time for the main event, and I mean that literally. Running sourcing events is where you really engage with suppliers and start to drive that healthy competition. And you've got a few key tools in your toolkit here. An RFI, a request for information, is perfect when you're just gathering data. An RFP, a request for proposal, is what you use to compare detailed solutions. And then you've got the auction, which is designed for one thing, driving the best possible price through real-time betting. Choosing the right tool for the job is a huge part of your strategy. Now, within each of these events, you have an incredible amount of control. You get to set the rules of the game, like when the event starts and stops, or whether suppliers can see what their competitors are bidding. You meticulously manage exactly who is invited to participate. You create all the content that suppliers respond to, and of course, you can use access controls to restrict who on your own team can see sensitive bid information as it comes in. Okay, so we've covered the fundamentals of projects and events. You've got the basics down. Now, let's level up and explore a more sophisticated strategy that gives you even deeper control over your decision-making. Because let's be real, we all know the lowest bid isn't always the best deal, right? The true cost of a product or service involves so much more than what's on the price tag. I mean, what about shipping, duties? What about implementation or switching costs? All of these things really matter. And this is exactly where a total cost event comes in. It's a seriously powerful feature that lets you evaluate suppliers based on the whole picture. So instead of just comparing their unit price, Ariba evaluates them based on a formula that you create, a formula that reflects the true total cost to your business. The absolute key here is that you are in complete control of the logic. You start by just identifying all those different cost drivers. Then you define those as components right there in the system. After that, you build a simple formula like price plus shipping, and Ariba does all the heavy lifting, automatically ranking your suppliers by their real-world total cost. It's brilliant. And that really just gets to the heart of it all, doesn't it? Mastering this platform isn't just about clicking buttons to launch an RFP. It's about really understanding and using these control features, from restricting document access all the way to building custom cost formulas to shape the data and drive smarter, more secure business decisions. So now you have a framework for thinking about security and strategy in Ariba. You have the ability to control who sees what, to structure your projects for maximum visibility, and even to define the very logic of your financial analysis. The tools are in your hands. The only question left is, what will you build with them?
In any big company, making a major purchase